Word up, Valkyrie. Warm us up with a little explosion or two. Who booked this the day after the pub crawl? So, I'm here today. My name's CCP Rue, lead game designer for Valkyrie, and hopefully you're going to energize me and get me through this. Far greater than any Red Bull known to mankind, the energy and love of players. And we're going to look at the roadmap for Valkyrie. We're going to take a look at where we were on the journey with Valkyrie and where we're going in the future. So we'll kick things off by giving a woo happy birthday to us. We've just celebrated our first year. Yes, we went out and had beers, but we also had cakes. This is some of the cool stuff that was made for us by the fans and shared on Twitter and social media. Awesome birthday card there, sweet cake. I didn't get to taste that. I don't know where that ended up. It's probably in someone else's belly, not mine, that's for sure. Not that I'm bitter about that. So really cool branded stuff as well, dog tags, which I still haven't received. Please get them mailed to me, I want them. So this is Fanfest, right? So first off, we'll kick off with, if I know anything about Fanfest, I know that you guys like stats. So here's a few stats for you. We have had over 1 million clones killed every month. Good times. We have had 57,000 carriers destroyed since releasing Carrier Assault. And a bizarre fact, if you took all of those carriers and stacked them end to end, it would be enough to stretch out the front door of the harbor to Honolulu, and then form a line to the moon, and then do a lap around the moon. Thank Nedge for working that one out. So CCP Bosun did the maths on this. And really cool as well, when we were looking at the data, we're seeing an average kind of play time per session of over an hour, which is fantastic, so that's really testament to our pilots and what they're doing in our world. So before we go diving into the future, we're going to have to dive a little bit into the past. It's important to understand the road behind us, to take time to reflect a little bit on the journey, on what we've learned as our first year as a live VR game, and it's also important to recognize how the technology has evolved, and in such a short space of time as well. So going back in time, maybe it's not that far back, but this is where it all started, and this slide here is really just to illustrate our desire for VR long before the technology was anywhere near close to delivering what we'd consider a believable reality that we're seeing today. Good times. And then, of course, we move on to the real journey to realistic kind of consumer VR, which started about 4 years ago. So Oculus Kickstarter campaign started around about the 1st of August 2012. We then had the DK1 released on the 29th of March 2013, and then the Oculus retail version released on the 28th of March 2016, last year. So in a relatively short space of time, the technology's come on leaps and bounds. And this is the face of high-end consumer VR as we know and love it today. And it's incredible, we're still in our infancy, we're still on the early stages of this journey in VR together, but it's amazing to see how quickly it's evolved. When you've got high-end quality products like this that people can use in their homes, I think it's an amazing thing to be a part of right now. So we were there at the launch for Oculus Rift at the dawn of virtual reality, and we're incredibly proud to be, available from day one. This is, I think, the launch games and pride of place there, Valkyrie, at the dawn of a new platform, and the killer app that everyone wanted. And there's us in the Oculus home store. So this is the version, I think the screenshot was taken about a year ago, proudly displaying our intense rating for VR thrills, and a lot has changed in the year, but they still haven't straightened out that rug. But, which is a shame because it really ties the room together. But, one of these days I might get touch support controller and actually straighten the rug out myself. Who knows? Just giving ideas. So as proud as we were to be there at the dawn of this new generation, we still knew that the game we shipped needed improving. We're honest, we're all gamers, we know what we can deliver, and we know the time frame we can deliver in it. So Valkyrie is an amazing game at launch, but we knew that we were missing something. We're missing our ultimate base attack game mode, which was Carrier Assault. It just wasn't ready, it just needed more testing, it needed more time and more love to become the epic game mode that we know and love today. And a few of our ships, well, they need a lot more love there in terms of balance and also feedback from a wider population. So we test these things in the studio, but that's only so many people, and we have pre-alphas and alpha programs where more and more audience get a chance to try it and give us feedback, but until you're out in the wild and you get much bigger numbers, then you get far more usable and valuable data. So we knew our rewards were lacking as well in places, and let's be honest, we were more than a little bit grindy in places. But we nailed the most important part. When you launched into VR for the first time, we just took your breath away. And that still remains true to this very day when you take in the launch sequence and get out there for your battles. So our plan from even at launch was that we were going to have this cadence of regular game updates. The idea was we'd take a load of features, we'd put them together and create a game update. We'd release that for free. And then between those game updates, we'd have patches which basically address balance fixes and minor tweaks and bugs, etc. So it's all about picking your battles wisely. You know, we're a very small dev team, so we need to kind of plan out as part of our roadmap how and when we deliver these features. So the first one, obviously, the big ticket item was Carrier Assault. We couldn't get it ready in time, so that filmed the kind of the tentpole feature on which the Carrier Assault update was based. We also brought online a new map. We had the Crossroads game map. And we also brought online boost gates, so a new mechanic that allowed you to get to the action as quick as possible, developed specifically for Carrier Assault so that you could get to the carrier way quicker than if you were just boosting and you ran out of your capacitor. We also introduced match bonuses, there was economy changes, we put in a tactical map, which is like a pause screen, which was like a scoreboard, and we had a huge pass on ship balancing, the first of many. Then in October, we ushered in the new players. Our PSVR community joined us on the 13th of October, and this was a huge part of the plan. We always planned from day one to be, you know, cross-platform VR. This was the way that we get our community together and grow it organically between all three major platforms. We also brought online our first co-op game mode, so this was like a PvE version of PvP. We had comm alerts put in so that people could communicate even when voice chat wasn't available cross-platform. We put online new recall missions, which were more story missions. We brought in line daily challenges. We overhauled the stat screen, so we changed that to become a clone integrity screen, which is a really visually empowering kind of orrery where you stand and you look around and you see the inside of your clone's mind and how it evolves depending on what elements of the game you play and complete. We also put in a game guide to better onboard people and put information in the client rather than having to go to the website. We put in a test arena so you could take any ship that you owned and basically fly it and test out its properties. And we made huge progression changes. We made it so that you got more rewards, and you got rewards for when you had matches played and matches won. We had a UI revision, the first of many. So that was a long evolution of UI, finding something that's really comfortable and usable in VR. And I think we're on our 4th iteration of that now. I wonder when the 5th's due. I'll get Chris worried. He'll be sat back in the office going, oh no. And we had more ship balancing, as usual. Tons of feedback coming in, so we rebalanced a lot of the ships based on that. Then we had Gatecrash just before Christmas, and we furthered our reach for cross-platform play by bringing in Vive. So we welcomed Vive to the party. We had the epic new map Gateway, which is fantastic. Big space station, lots of concentric circles, lots of scope for action. And we brought online pilot customization as well. So no longer were you kind of carbon copies of each other in the clone vat. You could sit around and see a whole host of different options, you know, customization items, the helmets, the colors, the armor, and all of the decals on the pilots. We also put in some PlayStation Pro optimizations to take advantage of that new hardware. And we had another huge ship balancing pass, controversially at that time. And then, just recently, in February, we had our 4th free update, which brought online Wormholes. So this was a new game mode. The idea was that we could experiment with different mechanics and rules in an area which wasn't the main PvP kind of focus of Valkyrie. So the idea being every weekend, we'd have a weekend wormhole and we'd test things out, whether that was one-shot kill missiles, whether it was infinite capacitor, whether it was rainbow trails on a ship, which has been surprisingly popular. And we could test that out and see what sticks, and then the community can tell us what's really successful, and we'll take that back into the evolution of the main game, take all of the good ideas, basically. We also brought online the Valkyrie League in its alpha state, so we've continued to iterate on that. We had improved comm alerts because we got a lot of feedback on what was useful within the comm alerts and what wasn't. We brought online flight stick support for PS4, so you could use the HOTAS controller. We improved the new player experience, actually did some research into the horizon lines in some of the training maps, and we discovered that there was increased comfort when you removed a defined horizon line in the distance, so we did that with the training modes. We had new target reticules for the heavies and the supports, which increased the feedback. Much better feedback, more immediate feedback on what the weapons were doing at any time in the battle. And we saw more huge improvements to the maps. CCP Starbug is never content with what's out there, so she's continuing to iterate based on feedback. So when we can, and when we need to change maps, we will. We'll move things around a bit to better complement the gameplay based on the feedback we get from the community. And we did an XP balance pass. We effectively took our mid to high-end progression and concertinaed it down. So there's a lot of people kind of logged onto the client the next day and suddenly had access to a lot more ships than they did the day before. And again, it was just to kind of reduce that grindiness, basically, get the ships to the players faster. So, bringing us up to date, Ground Rush, which you've just seen the trailer for, this is our first, it features our first kind of surface-based map, Solitude. It's a map that we couldn't have delivered 6 months ago. It's been in development for 6 months, but we've taken all of the learnings from the previous maps and incorporated them into the design of Solitude. So when we started off, we had Cathedral, which was a very open space. We then experimented with more and more structure in maps like Shipyard, where there's lots of tunnels that you can fly into for cover. So the epic chase, the cat and mouse mechanics really gets into play when you fly into a tunnel and break a missile lock, not using countermeasures, but using navigation. And so that brings us to the point for Solitude, where you have got canyons, you've got underground tunnels, and the action is split between the surface of the planet and the underground sections. So it's a really cool, it's probably our most extreme, most different map yet, and I'm really excited to hear the feedback and read about it all on the forums. We've also expanded Wormholes. There's more Wormholes coming, so check them every weekend for details. We've expanded co-op game mode, so we've now included carrier assault and control. So effectively, you can do PvE or PvP. It's entirely up to you. You play the game exactly the same. One match makes you to just AI and one against players. And all of the progression, all of the rewards you get are the same across both game modes. So basically, you play the game how you want to play it and get rewarded for it. We have also brought online our new pilot animation system. So previously until now, we're really cool, high-detailed statuettes, but we've now put skeletal meshes in them, so they'll idle and shift away from side to side. They'll do fist pump victories or hanging your head in shame, commiserations if you win or lose battles, which is really cool and adds a lot of life to the post-match screen. We also brought on, I haven't talked about this yet, but we've put in English subtitles. So again, for accessibility, you can now put on English subtitles for the whole of Valkyrie, which is really cool. We also put in Steam controller support by popular demand, and we've continued to improve our training. So whereas the roll gates in training were quite unforgiving, you had to be absolutely perfect, your wings had to be the right degree as you flew through them, we've now kind of made this a little bit more forgiving. So as you go through, you get a rating. It gives you like good, okay, or excellent, based on how you actually go through the training gate. So no more will you fly through and go, oh, I missed it by a tiny fraction, and have to fly back to go through it again. So yeah, all of those things delivered with Ground Rush, which will be with you very soon. Here is it's cool to look at concept. So this is where we started, and this is old. This is probably about 6 months old now, and this was the concept that started it all. So it's a pretty awesome kind of map painting, which gives you the promise of what it was. It was a Minmatar kind of research facility that had been abandoned and then taken over by Schism for their nefarious deeds. Here's another one, just to show the concept advancing with more and more structure, trying to flesh out a little bit about what the base was and how it was going to be built into the surface of the rocks. And this was the underground section. We wanted some kind of wide, cavernous tunnels where you could get in there for some dogfighting action kind of under the surface of the planet. And these are the focal points, so we're looking at where we put objectives, to give the objectives for control a real kind of sense of gravitas. So these are kind of chambers that you're led into where we can put the control modes, so we can split the action above ground and underground. And here's a work in progress shot. This one's just from the editor, and this was just as we were fleshing out kind of the feel of it and getting the size of the scale. You know, we'd drop into it like this and fly around and see what the sense of presence was like, and if you had enough space to do tight maneuvers and what kind of combat we're experiencing. So we're regularly play testing this section. And here's the in-game shot. So this is taken directly from the game as it is now. So if you're launching from the base, you'll launch outwards into the battlefield. And it looks stunning, basically. It speaks for itself. It looks awesome. And when you play it in motion, which I'm sure many of you will, it's a thrill. So this is the journey so far. These are the 5 free game updates that we've just gone through. And that brings us up to date, really. So we have shaped and we've evolved and we've lovingly polished all of this stuff for our game to build our community, to build Valkyrie up to be where it is now. And it's a rare thing in this industry that we're afforded that luxury both by CCP and by the community. And this will continue, just to be absolutely clear, this will continue. So why is all this important? Why am I kind of reminiscing, rose-tinted eyes about the year that was? And it's because really we need to analyze where we were to properly evaluate what our next steps are. So simply adding more content will not evolve Valkyrie much further. We need to properly consider and address some of the issues that might be limiting our audience. You know, is our barrier to entry too high? It is quite high. You know, after Proving Grounds, you fed into PvP, and then you might meet people like Quantum Delta and 1.5, who are probably really nice to you, in fairness. But it can be daunting. You can feel underpowered. They've got more ships than me. Even though the ships are supposed to be part of a flat progression and no one ship's supposed to be over OP, it still feels like players have access to more toys. Unfamiliar mechanics and rules. So, you know, what is a launch tube and why does it limit my ship choice? You know, the launch tubes are put in there basically to add a tactical element to gameplay, and we have to ask ourselves, are they serving that purpose, or are they kind of counter to what we want, which is people in the action as soon as they can with all of their ships to hand to use tactically during the course of a battle. And there's a lack of choice to explore personal preference. You know, if I was to liken it to a first-person shooter analogy, where's the shotgun guy? You know, where's the assault rifle? Where's the sniper? You know, and how do I unlock it? So, you know, we're not tutorializing how to get these things particularly well, and we need to make sure that the ships that we present the players with have distinct personality. So, poor tutorialization of the economy is another one as well that we want to address. You know, salvage is a thing that we put in the game because it was really cool. It's a shared economy. You collect it and you share it at the end of a battle. But why is it green? You know, in all of the games, green thing gives you a health boost. It's no wonder some of these things are causing confusion. So it's a time for us to stop and analyze and address it before we go further. So we need to onboard our fresh recruits more effectively if we want them to stay. It's as simple as that. So there's a layer of accessibility that needs to be properly addressed. So accessibility does not mean easy, dumbed down, auto-assisted, or without skill. What it means is that we do a better job of giving our players the tools and the knowledge to properly enjoy Valkyrie and the incredible experience that it provides to all of us. So you need to feel like a badass. You need to be able to compete with the badasses. And to do that, you need the tools and you need the knowledge. And then, guess what? You're going to have fun. So we did a good job on the Wraith. This is a firm favorite. It's become an iconic ship for the Valkyrie, and it's earned its reputation among our hardcore players. But we have to question, is it really that accessible for new players? You know, it's got a fixed weapon, which requires a great deal of precision and skill to get a kill with. It's got a head track weapon, which features a very exotic mechanic. It's a very exotically VR mechanic. And yeah, it's there to force you to move your head around more in VR, but we could maybe do a better job of explaining it or look at what other weapons might be suitable for a new player-focused weapon. You also need incredibly careful timing to use the missiles in battle to get a good kill. So from increased player data, you know, we're not so confident that our best candidate for onboarding players is actually the Wraith. In fact, a lot of people say they feel way more comfortable in a heavy when they go out. You know, they say, I'd rather fly a heavy because I can get loads of kills, lots of splash damage, and I feel good about myself. Or it could be a ship maybe that's got more of an SMG-style weapon. So it's decisions like that we need to drill down to, and we need to ensure that any changes we make in the future will have the impact that we desire. The other issue is pretty much, it's just because we made the Wraith so compelling and exciting, right? So So here's some stats for you. So this is stats for players who have unlocked all of the ships and crafted all of the ships in the game, and this pie chart basically represents Wraith use. Yeah, take that in. So that the blue section is the Wraith usage. I'm sure you jump to that conclusion immediately. We have 23 ships in Valkyrie, and we are spreading our time kind of maintaining many ships that just aren't being used, as you can see from the multicolored wheel there. And we've been aware for some time that we have too many ships and not enough meaningful kind of differences between them to make them desirable and offer a radically different gameplay. So we need every fighter class to be as iconic, every fighter ship within the fighter class to be as iconic as the Wraith is, or at least offer something totally different, a different player experience. And back to that analogy, shotguns, sniper rifles, SMGs, this kind of stuff. And the same goes for the other classes, for the support and the heavy and whatever else comes next. So from the forums and from the community discussions, it's clear that you agree, even some radical points that really caught our attention, which is, you've got too much, why don't you cut some and focus on what really, really matters? And so we are starting this now at Fanfest with now, and obviously the roundtable after this, the discussions of where we go, what we do with the ships. It basically boils down to quality, not quantity. So take a breath, take it in. There's a lot of stuff here. This is a very early concept sketch, that we're just noodling with this. I'll give you a couple of minutes to absorb that. We're in the very early stage of this debate, and obviously we want you to be a part of it, but we are asking those questions generally. What if we cut down the arsenal of ships and really, really focus on bringing out more distinct personalities and flavors? What if the choice of the ship offered a real difference, and a difference in terms of gameplay? What if we had a much deeper progression with a single ship, and you could tune it to complement your play style? What if you had a new ability that could benefit your whole team, turn the tides of a battle if you timed it right? And it's simply a concept sketch, but let's start talking about it, and we'll talk about it soon. So the other thing that we need to change is, it's how limited your initial choices are as a new player. So we created some amazing ships, and from what you've seen, we want to dial up that awesomeness gauge even further. But imagine getting something so cool and then being told that you can't play with it, right? You get a Millennium Falcon for Christmas until you've got to leave it in the box because it's worth more money if you leave it in the box. I want to play with a Millennium Falcon, of course I do. So are we gating our content for the right reasons? Are we gating ships that could really help our players in the early stages of the game? Is launch tubes the right mechanic for that layer of strategy that I was talking about before, or is it actually creating more confusion and frustration? When I play online with my buddies, I get asked almost weekly, so hang on a minute, what do I need to do? I take the heavy and I put it in the tube to take it into the battle. Yeah, and if I've got to explain it to my buddies, that's a fail. We need to look at why they're not working. So, the question is, do we strip it away? Do we just remove launch tubes and go for, straightforward ship selection? That might be the answer. But these are the discussions that we want to start now. So the third big topic really is the economy. Perfectly summed up with this slide. So we have gold bonds that are converted into VISC, silver, in order to spend them. We have 3 different types of salvage that are used to craft similar or the same items. We reward you with a cosmetic item, but then we expect you to craft it. Here's a present, now go pay for it. And there are lots of things that we'd like to simplify. There aren't enough surprises, and everyone likes surprises. There aren't enough moments in the game where we have huge celebrations. How do we make more celebration at the end of a battle as you're sharing out the spoils of war? So the things we're drilling down to at the minute are, any situations that limit progression. So if I was to, say, buy a sweet pilot suit with my VISC, that means that I can't afford the armor upgrade that's really important for my ship. We don't want players to be faced with those decisions. We want to kind of separate those things so that you never have to think, if I spend money here, that means I can't do the thing here, which really affects the gameplay. And do our players know enough about the economy and the progression to make informed decisions at that stage? I would say that they don't. So the headline for here is just basically simplification, an explanation, and a bit of surprise. So quick summary. So this is a quick presentation today. It's ships, more character, more progression, more meaningful choice. Ship selection, remove all the barriers to fun, give people the freedom to try and experiment with the cool toys. And the economy, give genuine rewards, more celebration, more surprises, and clearer decisions. So yes, we're going to be casting a critical eye over our onboarding. That's going to happen, absolutely. But this side of things we need to nail down to and make solid so that when we do onboard our new players, we're delivering the best possible version of Valkyrie that we can. And again, this is just a concept sketch, but wouldn't it be nicer to see a big pile of Visk rather than see a text telling you you've got 30,000 Visk? So, like I say, very short session. I'm going to take some questions after this, and then we've got the round table for the more deeper discussion, which I'm sure we'll get into. And I want to take those steps together. I've got to mention before I forget it that the whole of the Valkyrie soundtrack is now going to be available on SoundCloud. So, as made by a very talented composer and friend of mine, Richard McCool. So we'll publicize all the details of that, but be sure to check it out. I know I will. And basically join us. We're doing a presentation. We've got the round table, which is going to happen in soon, 2 o'clock next door in Rima A. And then after that, we've got Stargazer's We the Valkyrie session, which is 3 to 4 in Rima B. And that's about it. Hang on. No, actually, there's one more thing. We picked up a bit of an unusual heat signature. That was when we were in a playtest the other day. And we kind of detected something. We weren't sure what it was, but we thought it might be something covert related. So just want to leave you with another little teaser. This is concept art for our new covert ship class. And the ships are so stealthy that I couldn't even grab a screenshot of the exterior in the editor. But you'll have to wait for that and the awesomeness which we're going to show you with this one. But this really is an incredible ship. We're place testing it internally right now, and it really does change the dynamics of battle. So that's the covert ship class, and we'll have more information to share on that soon. No questions about that, but I can take a few quick questions now if anyone's got them. Other than that, thank you very much.
I'm ready for questioning.
I know you.
Okay, one thing. Lasers. Where is the pew-pew in the... It looks like a railgun. I'm a dedicated laser fan for years, and your laser is not a laser.
Where is the pew-pew?
Yeah.
I want you to email me with what pew-pew is, with some images and some videos. It's rainbow. We'll look at that. But like I say, when we look at the ships and we look at kind of iterating them. I think everyone heard him. I think this guy needs a mic.
One more thing.
Yeah.
I have to say, I got a little bit disappointed. There is no fitting. I can't fit my ships. What kind of universe game is that?
All I'm going to say is we share the same universe, but we're very different games.
Yeah, but still, I will be able to fit. Lasers and...
TBD, watch this space.
Thank you.
Less ships, more fitting.
Yeah. Pilot a Titan. Who said that? Hi.
Hi. So I tried the Ground Rush demo yesterday.
Yep.
And I really liked it.
Good.
But I thought about, is there a different flight mechanics when you're in space and on the ground? Sort of if it feels different because you're flying in air and...
No, and deliberately so. The flight model remains the same as it does when you're in space, and that was a decision we made so that the gameplay doesn't change. That would be a bit of a curveball for a lot of people if we suddenly applied Newtonian physics or, tackled gravity in any way. We want nothing to stand in the way of fun, basically. So we spent a lot of time kind of iterating and testing Solitude, the map, to make sure that, everything was just right and familiar as well for, our hardcore players, our mid-core players, and even for onboarding new players. So yeah, we did make a conscious decision not to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I like your idea of simplification of weapons, you know, as far as like advertising them, but I believe that as unique of a game as Spaceflight can be, we should focus more on just, you know, shotgun, SMG style, whatever. You know, you have a weapon that can increase damage from other weapons, as, you know, we have. Some other avenues would be, you know, of course, a slowing weapon or something like that, you know, like a gravimetric field emitter or something like that. That doesn't necessarily have to be an ability that you can only do a little bit. It could be, you know, a weapon and you balance it accordingly, of course, you know. I mean, there's a lot of versatility in, you know, a space game since you aren't so concretely, you know, planted in reality of the now. You know, you can do future tech. So I believe simplification just to the same archetypical weapons would be going in the wrong direction. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. The reason I use that analogy of the shotgun, the assault rifle, and the sniper rifle is because it's easier for people to grasp. In a quick conversation, I can highlight what I mean, which is a distinct flavor. So likening it to an existing genre, which is incredibly popular, it's sometimes the best way to do it. But, you know, we're not ruling out the weird and wonderful possibilities of space and fantasy, you know. Of course we're not. You know, we're looking at potentially bringing online game-changing abilities, which could shift the course of a battle if timed correctly. So yeah, we're gonna get crazy on your ass.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm over here on the other side.
Hi. Oh, hey!
Hey, so
I'm gonna go over this side of the stage.
Hey, nice to see you, buddy.
Nice walk.
Glad you're still standing. So I'm a huge fan of the carrier assault maps. I just think they're great. And I love the idea of objective-based stuff. It's a great palate cleanser between the fur balls of deathmatch, which are also a crap load of fun. But are you guys looking to expand on the notion of objective type play, or is that something that you kind of put on the back shelf for now?
No, absolutely not. I love it myself as well for exactly those reasons. It gives a very distinct, different flavor to the combat. I'll be the first person to say I get murdered in team deathmatch, you know, but in carrier assault, yeah, I'll take you down. Because I know I can focus on the things I can do really well. And yeah, we are experimenting behind closed doors. We are looking at new game modes and, you know, what new objective-based game modes we can deliver in the future. So yeah, I hate to do that wry smile thing where I kind of go, watch this space, but yeah, we got it.
I'll be watching.
You do.
Hello there. Basically, obviously, I've only played the game today and yesterday, so...
Welcome on board.
Thank you. Thanks to you guys. I'm going to get a PS4 when I get back to England.
Yay!
When it comes to the easier progression for newer players, I notice how the craft controls and all that, and with ship trees in general, wouldn't it be an idea coming from the EVE Online side, you have T1, T2, T3 and all that, wouldn't it be an idea for the easy progression from new recruit, only just got into the game, to go from T1 straight up in that short set and also improve the craft as they go, like shown in the concept art?
Absolutely, yeah. And when we're looking at the onboarding, there's a few things that we're doing. We have a place called the Proving Grounds, and this is a specific server where you're match made against AI, not real players. They actually have their shields removed for a little bit easier to kill, and you're allowed to experiment in there until you hit rank 5, by which point you've kind of got into the idea that this is my ship, and this is how I upgrade it and get better in this ship. So yeah, we're going to attack it on two fronts, which is, you know, tweaks that we make to the onboarding procedure, hopefully giving players a bit more choice so that they can very quickly kind of find the ship that's right for them without having to wait for it to be unlocked and go, yeah, I get it, this is my ship. And then the progression will start gradually within even the Proving Grounds, so that when they get into full-on PvP, you know, they've had a chance to put on their first upgrade or the first modification in the ship that they love, and they feel a lot more confident when they're out there.
Thank you. And on top of that, brilliant game. I'm enjoying it. It's like I'm flying a military jet, so I love it.
Well, a huge thank you from everyone at Newcastle. I'd be very pleased to hear that. Oh.
So,
hey.
It's me. Hi.
Hi.
I was excited to hear that you could switch also to total PvE version. I know it's supposed to be multiplayer, but for example, for someone who is not that able to play the multiplayer and to play the deathmatches, it still is fun to play it. Is there also a possibility, if you are playing the PvE parts, to, let's say, put a level of difficulty, to set a level of difficulty, or will it always be the same? For example, for a new player to get into it easier, not only the proving grounds as you told before, but also for the maps themselves.
So within Coop, the game mode, when you launch it, all of the AI that you're fighting against are actually match-made to you and to your ability and the ability of your team or your squad. So what we do is we consider, the true skill, the value of your pilot, and then match you to the right people. So the AI that you play basically should be at a level where they'll provide challenge but not feel like they're totally dominating you. So hopefully we find a sweet spot with that just organically. It just happens. The other thing is, if you want more of a challenge, you can jump into survival mode, and then you can basically fight waves and waves of AI that become increasingly more difficult and more numerous. So there's a couple of different ways that you can take on a challenge in a PvE environment.
Thank you.
Thanks. Recognize this face.
You're in for it now.
What's up, Quantum Delta?
So, those of us here who play the game a lot were quite excited when we saw some of the things you were talking about and planning.
I saw you smile.
The ability to customize the ships that you're flying, something I've wanted for a long time. A lot of the sort of important stuff in combat right now is being able to quickly identify what you're flying against.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have plans to have like a visual component to those upgrades good enough to see in VR?
Yeah. So how we're kind of going to tackle this is when we're looking at the ships and when we're looking at what ships we end up with. If we make revisions, we need to dial it up to 11 with the signs and feedback. We need to make sure that when you see a silhouette of a certain ship, you just go, that's so-and-so. That you know it. You will know the Wraith, basically. Cool. Because if you see a Wraith, it's the only thing in the game that looks like a Wraith. So absolutely. And then we're looking at that closely now as to how can we kind of modify the ships to make them even more kind of standoutish in the heat of battle, and in when we're giving you the iconography, when you've got the scoreboards up, when you're in the clone vat. How can we get that layer of tactical information so that when you see X number of ships in a match, you know what to take out.
Awesome, thank you. I love the new map too.
Hey.
So I know this is mostly Sony's fault, but is there any hope of accounts and progress from, say, having an Oculus account and then at some point moving to different hardware and having those accounts move with you, so you don't lose all your progression?
Yeah. I'll find out about that for you. I honestly don't know. Leave it with us. I'll find out. I'll get you an answer. I'll take a photo of your name tag and I'll let you know. I honestly couldn't answer that. I don't know. All right, cool. That's that then. So the Valkyrie roundtable is happening at 2 o'clock, which is pretty soon. Next door, Remit A. Hope you can join me there, and we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into all of the stuff that I just showed. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of FanFest. Cheers.